The third point I wanted to make was, in life, if you seek excellence, you must always seek people who are better than you. Sometimes when you reach a level of excellence, and if you're not secure, if you're insecure of what you've achieved, then you always surround yourself with people who are lesser than you. And the moment you surround yourself with people who are lesser than you, you stop growing. So for a purely selfish reason, if not for anything else, you must always surround yourself with people who are better than you. Because then you learn and you grow. And they may not be better than you at your profession. People might say, hang on, this guy's done, 70, 75 test matches, 370 one-day international, who's he going to work with who's better than him? That's nonsense for a start anyway. But you might watch a cameraman work and see the great discipline and excellence he brings to his job. And you say, wow, man, can I be in my profession what this cameraman is to him, is to his profession? And believe me, when I started out in this whole television profession, I had no heroes. I had no heroes and I had no one to look up to. In radio broadcasting, because we had a tradition of radio broadcasting in India, a tradition that we have killed and we are currently at the moment burying as deep as we can, you had someone to look up to. But in television, I had no one to look up to. So I'd sort of hang around the crew, And I later discovered that some of these sort of, these very dandy presenters never hung around with the crew, with the rigger. Those riggers used to have big leather gloves and they had grease all over them, and I'd look at them and say, wow, these guys are working their backside off. And we had a mid-wicket cameraman called Johnny de Villiers from South Africa. In those days, we only had one mid-wicket camera. We still do, even now. There's only one mid-wicket camera. He had to, while the ball was being bowled, had to check the no ball. Because the no ball is best viewed from mid-wicket camera. This was before the cameras were locked off. Before you had the 4 locked off cameras to check that. As soon as the ball was bowled, and can you imagine how quick it is when a fast bowler is bowling? On television, you have no idea of speed. Whether it's Formula 1 or a fast bowler, you get no idea of speed on television. He's got to check the no ball, and then straight away he's got to move to the batting crease. Luckily, you don't get stumpings with people who are bowling with no balls, but assume a spinner's bowling. He's got a little bit more time, but he's got to go from the no ball straight to the crease to check if there's a stumping. If a ball's been hit, he's got to follow the ball, and then promptly come back to see if there's a chance of a run out. And sometimes, and this actually happened once, where someone threw the ball to the striker's end, and there's a run-out chance there, and the wicket-keeper promptly realized there's a run-out chance at the non-striker's end. Now, this guy's the only one. So he's gone there for the run-out. He's quickly realized that the run-out is there. He's quickly gone there so that he can check if he can get the run-out there. And I just looked at that thing and said, shit, this man's a genius. And I asked him afterwards, and he said, you know what? He said, I've never missed a stumping in my life. I said, to me, that is excellence. These were my heroes. Because I didn't have broadcasting heroes to look up to, my heroes were technicians. My heroes were the replay editors. I remember long are in theirs. And sometimes when we start to reach a certain level, we surround ourselves with smaller people. Or we start hating criticism. I don't know if you've seen that happening to a lot of people. Once you've reached a certain level, you don't like criticism. And, what is the worst thing that will happen if people criticize you? They say you did something wrong. If you do something wrong, you should be game enough to say, sorry, I did it wrong, before someone else says it was wrong. And it's always very important on the path to excellence to have people around you who will tell you whether you're doing right or wrong. And in show business, that is the toughest thing of all. I don't know if some of you picked up something that Simone Vaughan said recently. She said, my husband Shane lives in a rarefied bubble. He said he has no idea what is right and wrong because he lives in a rarefied bubble. There's nobody in Shane Vaughan's life to tell him, listen buddy, what you're doing is wrong. On the path to excellence, you'll find that there's a lot of people who want to say nice things about you. And in course of time, you'll start to build a highway between your ears and let people you don't know just come and say, wow, you're very good. Smile and let that go away. You tend to remember when people say, you know what? Just watch out, you're stumbling a little bit. Well, I told Rahul Dravid once many, many years ago when he was a young man, and he told me the only 2 people interested in me getting married, my grandmother and you. Little did he know that I wanted that whole waiting, that queue around him to get released. Because every woman I met said, you know Rahul Dravid? And very innocently I said, you could know me as well, Yeah. My wife was supposed to come with me and pulled out this afternoon because the flight was late. I said, never marry a fan. I said, I can't advise you anything about the way you bat. for heaven's sake, don't ever marry a fan. Marry a girl who will tell you, listen, you're doing something wrong. Because only then will your marriage survive. You marry a girl who's telling you, listen, you're great, and Rahul Dravid. You can't marry someone who's marrying 22 hundreds. Or in Tendulkar's case, someone who's marrying 70 hundreds. So, he told me one day, he said, I remembered that when I was getting married. I said, I hope you remembered a few other things as well. but I think it's very important in life never to marry a fan. Because arrogance often comes in the way of excellence. It's one of the biggest stumbling blocks on the path to excellence. And I know a thing or two about that because I've been the greatest beneficiary of the arrogance of Indian cricket. Because the one question that has prevented Indian cricket and Indian cricketers from growing into human beings and therefore into better cricketers is how much cricket have you played? So everybody, even if whether you're a surgeon or a lawyer, you're always judged by that on the scales. It says, how much cricket have you played? And earlier it used to bother me a great deal. And after a while I said, hang on, anybody who says, how much cricket have you played, believes that that is the only thing that counts in the world. So I've got a great chance here. And I was able to succeed initially in my profession because I was willing to do what it took. And a lot of people weren't because they were cricketers. And so they had to be cricketers, right? It's like bit actresses in serials and movies who carry on this pretense of being stars when they actually can't afford to be stars. I met this actress once who said, everyone thinks I make a lot of money. We were on a flight together sitting next to each other, which gave me about 25 dirty looks on that flight, I can assure you. And said, everyone thinks that we're very rich. He said, we've got to keep up this facade of being glamorous. And sometimes we can't afford this facade. And it's a bit like that with cricketers as well.